Well, hello, friend. I'll tell you what, I thought I'd be the only person up here, but a family just came up here to hike. I'm up on the saddle, and I was here by myself for a while meditating. You know, behind me, usually there's this amazing view where you can see mountain after mountain. But today, because of the fog, you can't see, well, much more than 100 feet, maybe, somewhere around there. But I'll tell you what though, what I did notice sitting here being quiet was that I never noticed the sounds in the valley before. When you come up here, the whole world is so big that it overwhelms your sense of sight and you kind of lose track of everything else. So I just come up here to just actually where I was at in the valley. There wasn't any fog, and this cloud came in on me while I was coming up the mountain. But that's okay. It ends up being a beautiful, quiet time because normally there'd be a lot of people that come through here as they're traveling. So it's nice to have a little quiet time and just really listen. I guess sometimes in the world that's kind of what happens to us, isn't it? We get overwhelmed with all these sights and sounds and we forget what we're here for. If we ever knew what we were here for, friend. I didn't know what I was here for the longest time. I was so wrapped up in, well, being angry over things that happened, and then because I was angry, I was acting all kinds of not good, I imagine. I got a new hat. My friend Keith just gave me this hat. So now I got another outdoorsy hat that I can wear, different than the other one. This one's actually leather. I like it. But yeah, I was always like wrapped up in this world, and I just couldn't see the truth of what was going on and what the purpose of it all was. And then, well, I found the purpose. And though my purpose is what I say it is, that nobody else will really believe it unless they do. But you know, anybody that knows me knows that I'm always on here talking about that Jesus, right? So the purpose of the world is to come to know love by experience. And when you choose it for that purpose, well, then this becomes a much better world. But if you're like me and you were in the wrong places doing the wrong things, you didn't see that. You saw a lot of things that just weren't love. And what happened is, well, when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, I imagine, my father started giving me a better definition. And even when I seen it at first, friend, I was still blind. Took some time to bring me around to seeing the truth of things. This last decade, though, working in the mental health field has really allowed me to see people from a new perspective because, well, I was busy supporting people that had a mental health diagnosis and helping them, taking them to soup kitchens and to Toggeries to get clothes and to do all these things. But what ended up happening is I started running into all these wonderful people. And the people in the mental health field, I mean, they got into it mostly, well, because they have a passion to help people. So the last decade of my life, I've been surrounded by wonderful people. And it's given me a different view of the world than I used to have when I was running around trying to be in the world and of it. Trying to grab for more, thinking that there was something to grab a hold of that was worth having. Turns out there just isn't anything. All those things I possessed me, and now that I don't really possess anything, well, some of them still possess me because, well, even though they're gone, the payments are left behind. That flood took a few. But that's okay, because living in this truck the way I do now and just living out here on the mountain, I would show you the mountain today, but you can't see it because it's off the other side of the saddle. But all you can see is the same thing you see off this side of the mountain, which is just fog. But that's okay because, well, they're always telling me my head's in the clouds. So today I'm up on the mountain with my head's in the clouds. Love is the only purpose worth having, and that's what Jesus talked about. Parable after parable, he's talking about love and forgiveness. He was talking about love, forgive, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. So that's what I've been trying to make my life about. And when I went back to Pennsylvania, well, I had a pretty good time of it, but it's nice to be back on the mountain down here where I'm back in the mountains, because I just love it out here. I love hiking out in the mountains. I just love coming up and sitting on a ridge and seeing how great God's glory is. You know, in different seasons of our lives, we do different things, and sometimes I don't know what this season's going to bring. The last one I got to enjoy a lot of people and got to enjoy a lot of things, but the Holy Spirit returned to me this time and said it was time for me to have a new life. And so here I am out in the middle of nowhere for the most part, not doing anything fancy anymore, but I'm at peace like I've never been before. And I just love God for that. And he tells me I'm going to talk about all these different things that I talk about on these videos. Not that I expect anybody to believe any of it. But that's what I come on here to talk about, Jesus and what he was talking about, and how it is we can live a better life by choosing to come to know love by experience. Because that's the reason my Father allows all this insanity to go on. Because when you have more to give to those that have less. So some of us have more of one thing, some of us have more than another, you know, and it really doesn't matter what we have more of. Each of us have more of something that we can give to someone that has less of it. And I'm not talking money, friends. I'm talking love. I'm talking truth. I'm talking all kinds of stuff. Each of us have something that the Father wants from us, and each of us that turn and decide to give it to another, well, then he gets it for himself. Because the Father's of spirit, right? So I can't give him anything. I come out here, I give him my thoughts, and that's all I can really give him, because, well, everything's his, right? Jesus said the landlord was going to come for the rent. I just figured I'd start paying my rent. And it turns out it's just a much more wonderful life when I'm not worried about judging other people and trying to figure out how to get more, when I come to realize that Jesus said I'm the least among you, and what he was talking about was that, well, he needed the least because he was the least, because he knew the most. And what he knew the most of was the love of the Father. He knew the purpose of the world was come to know love by experience, but he didn't tell you that outright, did he? He left it in those parables, buried deep. The kingdom is like, the kingdom is like, the kingdom is like. And saying that you could say, mountain move and be cast into the sea, and if you believed it would be done. All these things, they're all riddles and secret messages waiting for somebody to... It's the undiscovered country, friend. And when you discover it, you'll find something better than this world can offer you. You'll find the truth of my Father. You'll find the Holy Spirit. And he'll give to you what it is you couldn't get for yourself, and he'll give it to you in such a way that you don't have to take it from anyone else. Because I'll tell you, friend, mostly the way people get things in this world is they keep more for themselves by giving less to others. And that's how they accumulate things, and that just doesn't work for me. I tried it, it just doesn't work out well. But giving to another what it is I seek for myself, well, that works out real good, because all I really want is joy, peace, and love, and that's what I'm giving to my Father, and I give it to you on these videos. I'm not responsible to get anybody to look at them. That's his job. Maybe only a couple of people see them, just like they always do. A few people watch. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I'm just as blind every day as on a foggy day like today. I can never see much more than a few feet in front of me. See, I thought of Satan, it exists in the future and in the past. In this eternal moment of now, It's got nothing on us. Not if you get to know that Jesus. See, it wants to scare you with what might happen in the future and what you did in the past and try to make you feel guilty for things done. And things that are done, friend. It's time to turn. It's time to say, forgive me for I know not what I do, and move on and make a new choice. And that's what I come on here to talk about, is because, well, there's a lot of people out there that are like me that were in pain, and because they were hurting, they were hurting. And when they were hurting other people. That's what hurt does. Hurt people hurt people. And that doesn't bring anybody any joy, especially the people giving it just as much as the people receiving it, friend. Don't think that people that are hurting people are really enjoying it. They just don't know any better. They don't know love. It's our job to teach them if we know Jesus. So that's what I'm always talking about, is this love of Christ. Because that's what Jesus was to me. See, he wasn't a sacrifice to appease my Father's bloodlust. That's a bunch of baloney, and that's for those that are trying to only abide in the law for the fear of it. What he was really doing was, he showed you that he loved you so much that he was willing to go to his death in order to show you that you were worth saving. He was teaching you forgiveness. So if you believed in him, you can believe in his forgiveness. But you got to get to really know him, friend, because I'm going to tell you. I've watched all kinds of videos on YouTube. They've got all kinds of proof of the non-existence of Jesus and all of this stuff. This is how I know Jesus was. I know Jesus was because of his words. Because, they say that it wasn't him that said it, it was some other, and they got all this stuff going on. But truth at the end is that I did the things Jesus asked, and I found a higher truth. And because I found a higher truth, I have one to give, because I've been given one by my Father, and that is to understand that the purpose of the world is to come to know love by experience. So the rest of the world doesn't really matter to me anymore, friend. What man can have doesn't have any meaning. All of this greed is creating a world that's just not worth living in, and the more that some have and the less others have, the more the have less want to have more, and it's just not going anywhere good, and you can see it. Jesus told you this was going to happen. And it's getting time toward harvest season, because love's kind of peaking out, I do believe. I'm hoping maybe you'll hear this message and decide to change and maybe set the world on fire for the love of Christ, and then, well, if the crop is growing, then my Father's won't be harvesting. Because a farmer only harvests the crop when it's ready. And I myself would love to see people find more love, more joy, more peace. But he said when that day comes, when it peaks, then it's time to harvest his crop, which is the people that come to know love by experience through that message of Christ. And you'll see. But it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that now is the perfect time for love. This is the time to know love by experience. The world is a bright place, friend. There's a ton of different ways to help people help people. You can join in on people's bandwagons already going. If you're real creative, you can create your own and get other people on your bandwagon on how to help people. There's just so many ways, it's just unbelievable. You can feed the hungry, clothe the naked, help those that are less fortunate. You can visit those in prison. There's all kinds of ways, but it's really important that when you're reading Jesus, you understand that Jesus was, he said that loving those that love you, that's easy. Even the sinners and, at the time, tax collectors do that, though they're not really what they used to be, are they? But what he was talking about was that you won't get to know my Father's love until you get to know yours. If you do the things he asked and you find out how great your love is, the greater your love becomes, the greater my Father's love will become to you. Until one day you'll come to know a higher truth, and you'll come to hate this world. Not because you hate the world, but you'll hate the truth the world has. And that is that getting more for yourself has some sort of real meaning. It doesn't. But if you have more, you can give more. And because you give more, you'll receive more. But make it about love, because love is the purpose and the path. And those that want the kingdom are responsible to bring it here. Even though we won't succeed, our job is to attempt it. So if you want the kingdom, bring the kingdom. But don't ask my Father for something in your death that you're not willing to give in your life, because Jesus told you over and over that that wasn't going to happen. And that's kind of, so it doesn't matter what the church says. What matters is what Jesus said, because if Jesus was the truth, and if his word was his body and his spirit was his blood, well then eat his word and drink his spirit. You don't need to do bread and grape juice. Do something real, like eat his word and drink his spirit. That's what he wanted. That's what that was all about. But you have to get to know this Jesus to understand these things. And then, because you'll find what you love, you'll love what you have, and then you'll want to give it to others, because there's just no greater joy. And you'll realize this Father in heaven has created this world just so that we could know love by experience, because we have to have something other than love so that we can choose love for ourselves. And in the choice of choosing it for ourselves and for him, well then he knows love by experience, so do we, and so do those that we help. And that's the greatest joy there ever was, or will ever be. All right, friend. Well, I'm going to head back to the mountain I'm living on and get ready to have some dinner. So I hope that you all are having a wonderful day, and I hope you are enjoying your life just as much as I'm enjoying mine. And, well, may God bless you and yours.